Welcome to the Locdpop Talks podcast. I am your host, Tyree Wilson, and whether you are a man or a woman who is either married, separated, standing for your marriage, or divorced, this podcast is here to support you. You, your family, whatever the situation may be, I'm going to go ahead and add you on there. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow the podcast. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow me over on Instagram at Locdpop. That's LOCDPOP. You can also email me at www.tyrewilson.com. As always, I upload a part of the podcast and I complete the total podcast episode over on the website for you to check out and listen to wherever you are, whenever you're ready. So, again, I am your host, Tyree Wilson, and I want to apologize for how long it's been since I've done a podcast. According to YouTube, it's been about a month. It's probably been longer than that, but it's been about a month. And to be upfront and forthcoming with you guys is that, I too am standing for my marriage and letting go and learning to trust and lean more on the word of God and what it is that he has directed my life towards. And sometimes it does not mean that I hear God every day. It doesn't mean that I don't question, what the Lord has said. He's given me my direction and I follow it. Plain and simple. In the meantime, I've learned different practical ways how to work and how to work on myself and how to apply a little bit more of my energy and my time towards the things that I find happiness in, the things that are going to do well for me, as well as for my family, as well as for my daughters and potentially my wife. I do things that are potential for our relationship, so that's kind of my own personal motivations, whatever your motivations are, as far as where your marriage or your relationship or your family, whatever it is, take that direction because it's your own direction. Your life is your life. My podcast is here to help and support you, but ultimately you're the one who makes the choice. God gives us the choices, but you make the decision. So, may God be with you. And again, thank God for you. So without you, there is no podcast. There isn't much of a podcast. But again, I say thank you for rocking with me and my times of being high and really happy. And then there are times where I feel low and, I have to recharge and I have to find out where I want things to kind of evolve into, no matter what happens. So anyway, let's get to the point of the podcast. Shared ministry. If you guys are listening now, you're either dealing with this right now or you're not. And let me explain what I mean. Shared ministry. What I have learned for a long time is that when you are in a relationship with somebody, and it could have, let's say, a long-term relationships, anything over like 3 years would be considered, for me, a long-term relationship. So if you're in a marriage for a long-term relationship, depending on the point of your life you were in when you met this person, your marriage or your old marriage may have been a state of codependency. Codependency, by what I understand it to be, is you or your spouse either participating in or joining different activities and different jobs, and maybe where you live and your diet and your exercise, your faith, your parenting skills. Either way, everything you do is based off of how the other person reacts. Everything that they did is based off of how you react. So if you don't like the type of sport that they're into or the type of things that they do on their downtime, then they stop doing those things for you. Regardless if that thing that your spouse was doing brought them happiness. And the same thing could be said for you. Maybe there was something to do. Maybe you used to go fishing. Maybe you played basketball. Maybe you did writing. Maybe you like to dance. Maybe you're just, you're the creative type, or maybe you're the educational, studious type. Either way, at some point, your spouse may have opened up their mouths and let you know in so many words that they feel that you spend too much time on the things that make you happy, and thus you're not putting enough time into the marriage. And because you're such a good person, because you're such a thoughtful person, you then cut back on the things that you were doing if you haven't eliminated them totally. And you decided to reinvest into the relationship with someone that has voiced their opinion that they are most happiest when they are with you. Congratulations. I'm glad that you're that type of person. That person that you have committed your time to is lucky to have you. However, I have seen what it looks like. I've seen it. The long term game of giving up the things that you love to do in order to make the other person happy, to the point where you no longer participate in those things. And I don't mean, terrible things like gambling, drinking, fighting, the type of things that put other people's mind at worry. I don't mean like skydiving and mountain climbing and stuff like that, which I would probably never do. So I mean more like those activities I mentioned earlier: sporting activities, exercise, writing, singing. You're just taking on a different cause that is outside of your home. Doing those things and then one day no longer being able to do them in order to make your spouse happy, depending on who you talk to, it can be admirable. It can be, a fiduciary type of thing in order for you to complete and do and obey and all of that. But if you have shut away the best parts of yourself, where you no longer find any area of happiness with what you do, your marriage is at risk, and your marriage could possibly be a codependent relationship, in which case it does not work long term. It's not going to work long term if it hasn't suffered already. What I've learned in my own personal life, and quite honestly, some of the people that I know in my own personal circle have given up a lot of things that they can't do. And I would say, like me, as far as basketball is concerned, like I gave up basketball because I couldn't play as much, and because I busted, I really can't play at all. So I find other activities and I do them now. I'm really happy that I do them, and I'll explain them a little bit later on in the podcast. However, I've seen what it looks like when you're not a part of these activities that you used to do. Now you do everything for the other person because you want them to feel as though you love them unconditionally, that you love them full-heartedly, and you're willing to do whatever it is that they ask of you. And you're going to do it with a smile on your face, and you're going to do it with undying energy. You're out there. You're the best spouse 100% of the time. Cook for me, clean for me, pick this up, grab that. Don't do it this way. Do it that way. Like at some point, I think somewhere, men, and to a point women, are led to believe that that is what marriage is. Constantly having to do something for someone else that you really don't want to do. Or you do those things, but there's no sense of appreciation. There's got to be a Bible verse about that somewhere. There's got to be, about doing things that you don't do things looking for gratitude. And I totally understand that. The point I want to make about a codependent relationship is that if that is where you think you are, or you identify with that, there's a counter to the codependent relationship, and that's the interdependent relationship. The interdependent relationship is more built towards both parties, male and female, husband and wife, partner and partner, whatever the case may be, being able to not only enjoy themselves as individuals, but able to enjoy themselves as individuals to the point that they want to be together, that they love each other for their differences. They love each other and they want to support one another, and they work together because it brings a mutual satisfaction. It is fulfilling and to participate in selfless acts. I'm not doing it. I don't do things for my wife for my own satisfaction. I do it because I have spent enough time with myself, and I have built up time for and energy and appreciation for the things that I love, that I want to do things for other people. That brings me true joy and happiness. And I've tested this theory, you guys, and it works. Interdependent relationships work, and it doesn't necessarily have to work for your relationship. It just changes the person you are as you are involved in a marriage, or you're standing for your marriage. Whatever the case may be, your life becomes more when you have the capacity to be filled and then to help someone else fill their cup. So like a quick example of that is my father, who is, to the day he dies, I know he's going to be dedicated to making my mother happy, no matter what the situation is. He may have his frustrations, and what man doesn't, but I believe that my father will do whatever it is that my mom wants to do, as far as being in the house, as far as, taking care of it, of her and the goals that she's working on and towards her. And I love that about my father. What I don't like about my father sometimes is that he allows himself to do these things for my mother, and he forgot that at some point he has to take care of himself. And it's sad to see. That's the only thing I think I have a problem with, that is that I don't see him doing those things. And I do the podcast, and I go for a walk, and I do my exercise, and I read the Bible, and I spend time with the girls. I pray for my wife. I pray for the household and stuff. Like, I'm happy. I'm going for school and stuff like that, and I'm doing well at work. I'm happy. And I want to see my father be happy too. So this past Father's Day, I went ahead and I bought my father stuff for fishing, because he loves to go fishing. My dad he's one of those guys where he can just, minus the boat, he can go fishing for hours. And for him, it's not so much about the fishing, it's just his time to decompress. It's his time alone. It's his moment of solitude that he appreciates. And going with my father when I was a young boy going fishing, though it was boring to a point at the time, had its moments of adventure and excitement. And it made me really respect my father as a man, because this man was teaching me something that that at the time I did not appreciate. But in my manhood, in my later years in life, he was teaching me a skill, teaching me how to go fish. Now, because of the world we live in, that may not necessarily be a skill you need. However, it's a skill. I can rely on that. My father took enough time to show me how to string a line, how to set up my bait, my lure, how to cast a line, how to set down, how to read the bob or the buoy or the lure, how to read the line and how to read the pole. I mean, there's so many different nuggets he gave me that I can go fishing. And I taught my girls not too long ago. And, if you follow on my Instagram page, I might have a video or two of the girls going fishing, just having fun or whatever like that. But it was an expression for me to show my father that I picked up what you taught me, Pops. I picked it up. And I had the opportunity this Father's Day to go and buy my father stuff for fishing. Some shades, some tackle boxes, some hooks, some lures or whatever like that. And I gave that to him, and I felt good because that was something that I knew my father wanted. I did not get my father, just a card and a cup that says Happy Father's Day. That's that basic stuff. Interdependent relationships allow you to remember or think deeply on what is it that person, what made them an individual, to the point that you were attracted to them, something that they have brought to your life that you wanted to show appreciation for. So for my father, it was for getting him the fishing rods. For my wife, she's gonna have to wait till her birthday comes to to receive her gift of something that I was thinking about that reminded me a lot of her and us in our younger years. But anyway, interdependent relationships, is a way to allow yourself to be fulfilled with the things that you love to do, to the point where you can then share that same thoughtfulness and that same level of love and insight with somebody close to you, like your spouse. Don't rely on a codependent relationship. It's cute. It has its place. It's more so built for couples who are young, who don't have much, so they have to rely on each other really hard to get where they are. But at some point, the relationship has to evolve. Or, some relationships just need to be, they stop so that it can be restarted fresh. And I'm cool with that too. But it has to be restarted and built anew and refreshed under a different house. It's got to be built under a different household, not a codependent one, but an interdependent one, where an individual can take care of themselves and then they can support you. Not that they have to rely on you, and not that you have to rely on them, because that codependent relationship brings a lot of devastation to bank accounts, households, child raising, Social Security and insurance and all the things that make you feel whole as a person. When you're in a codependent relationship, your marriage is built on codependency. If the relationship is ever threatened, or someone decides that they finally want out, there's going to be less money made. There's going to be more money spent on insurance. There's going to be less security as far as the cars. There's going to be conflicting parenting skill sets when it comes to the children. it costs more, or maybe not cost more, but it will, you will split the resources. Okay. So you won't make as much. You won't be as covered as well. Your weakness in your relationship is going to be exposed a little bit more easier because that other person isn't there. In your season of waiting and praying and listening and learning what the Word of God has for you, concentrate more on the interdependent side of things and appreciate the other person's side, their side of the interdependent relationship, because they're an adult too, and they're free to make their own choices, and they're free to have their own mindsets, and they're free to have the ability to agree with you and disagree with you. And that's okay, because you know what? And they're disagreeing with the way that you feel, or you disagreeing with the way that what they think or what they believe, allows another relationship building tactic to be born, basically, or be reborn. And that's the ability to have a real conversation. And what do I mean by conversations? Is about having healthier disagreements, healthier debates. And that way that's another way of teaching people, or teaching the spouse, that you respect their thoughts, their minds, their actions, feelings, and opinions, while also adding to your own, and that you're okay with them not being cool with everything that comes out of your mouth. That shows a sign of maturity. If you're not already doing this, you can start today. Interdependent relationships does not require the other person. You can start doing these things today. One of the marriage helper, I guess I basically just gave the name away, but Marriage Helpers is a program that I followed. And it has helped me very much so as far as doing a podcast and working on myself. And they have what they call pies, and working on your pies is your physical side, your physical body, your intellectual side, your emotional side, and your spiritual side. In an interdependent relationship, they follow all of these principles, the PIES, your pies. These things are put in place so that you understand that what you are doing is built specifically, directly, and most emphatically for you, to make you the best version of yourself. Any chance you get, every time you have an opportunity, every day of your life from that point going forward, because not only does it make you an attractive spouse, it also makes you an attractive person who is then open and ready and thrust upon opportunities, more blessings, of course, more challenges, but you get to show just how well you have grown as a person. So it's not about just being the perfect wife or being the better husband. It's about being a better person. In a shared ministry, the goal is to love someone and to be with them and to recognize that they have their own way of doing things and it works for them. But the goal and the plan has always been to work with you. And it does not require the other person. You can do it for yourself right now. Right now, you can do it for yourself. If you've been arguing with your spouse, if every interaction is a very tense one with them, it's just very tense. If the parenting side of things are so different, if they've moved out of the household and they don't want to talk to you, it doesn't matter. You can start working on you right now. You can have 100% turnaround in the way that you do things right now. And if you're already doing them, congratulations, but there's always room for more. And I'm learning this, you guys, as I'm doing the podcast. Every day I take it one day at a time. I speak to my own counselor, and he helps me figure out what is it that would be the best move for me to make. What's going to help me push the needle, what's going to help me move things along while I keep my faith and trust in the Lord. I don't want to get out of step with God. We don't want to get out of step with what God has for us, because then we start leaning on ourselves. And if we start doing that, then our ego starts to grow, our humility starts to drop, and at some point we overstep our bounds and we overstep our means. I'm not ready to do that. That actually frightens me to a point, and I don't know about you. I can't do it. I know I can't do it by myself. So like any other episode, like any other day, this is a day that the Lord has made for us. This is an opportunity for me to speak to you. This is an opportunity for you to listen. As always, you are welcome to message me on the podcast. And this is just all something that God has created. We're just here to enjoy it. That's going to do it for today's episode, you guys. There definitely will be more. Thank you all, and I'm going to see you guys next episode. Have a safe night.